Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton Sawin coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Before we get started, if anyone out there has a story they'd like to share on the show, you can go to brentonsawin@gmail.com, and I'll leave that information in the description in case you need to look at it. If you want to contribute to help with the show, you can go to PayPal Me link, and you can make a contribution there, and I really do appreciate it, especially through this time where YouTube is censoring Christian and conservative people and even banning them off Twitter, YouTube, and all these other sites. So, we have to be kind of careful, and they demonetize a lot of our stuff. And so your contributions do help tremendously to keep some of us going. It's a shame, but, unless there's other platforms that pop up for us to go to, this is going to be part of the deal, I guess. Today we have Jeren with us, and he has some stories, some cryptid stuff, and some other types of stories that he's going to share with us. And we're going to go to him and let him introduce himself, and then we'll get into his encounters and stories. Jeren, if you want to, buddy, just introduce yourself, and we'll talk about your stuff here in a minute.
All right. Yes, sir. My name is Jeren. I'm from Oklahoma. I'm 40 years old. I've pretty much lived here in the same area my whole life. And I guess we'll get right into the first encounter I ever had. It would have been back in 1999. I was in my early 20s. It would have been, it had been summer, probably middle of summer. I think it was around 2 or 3 o'clock in the evening. Me and a couple of my buddies, I won't mention their names since I haven't talked to them. We were, well, let me back up just a little bit. My family had some land out here. I guess my dad and my aunts all together, you're around 300 and probably 340, 350 acres. And so I got lots of room to run around out here. So me and my buddies, we're out running around out in this field. I think we were armed. I had a SKS, a couple extra mags, 30-round mags. I think he had an AR-15, one of my buddies. And my other friend had a 22, a 22 rifle, a Ruger, little Ruger 1022. And so we had been out there for a while. It's probably 100 degrees. I'm betting 2 o'clock in the evening, middle of summer in Oklahoma. And we had been walking for a while, and we were walking down this dried up creek bed. And there came to a point where it got real narrow, and we decided to stop and take a break. And I smoked back then, and interesting, we were smoking when this thing happened. But we all sat down, we were all smoking a cigarette, and I guess I'd say a good 8 to 10 minutes went by, and like I said, it was real hot, so we're just kind of cooling off, So we're just sitting here in this dried creek bed. It's, like I said, it's pretty narrow. I mean, it was no bigger than just like sitting in a chair. And me and my buddy were on one side, and my other buddy, he was on the other side facing us, and we're all just kind of had our heads down. We hadn't talked in probably a good 8 to 10 minutes, like I was saying. And I figured, well, time to get up and go. And I jumped up to my feet real quick, and I was just about to say, let's go. And behind my buddy who was facing us, there is a wall. I mean, back then it was just this wall of thickets of vines. You couldn't hardly see into them. It was so thick. And this wall of vines, thickets, whatever, it went along with the creek, probably a good half mile. So there's a good half mile of just real thick stuff in there that you could hardly get into. And so I jump up, and this vines, all these vines behind him, they just started shaking. I mean, it was going crazy. I thought that maybe there was a cow, as we have cattle out here, that one of the cows was maybe gotten into the vines, and I scared it when I jumped up real quick, and it ran off. That's how crazy the commotion of these vines was. I mean, it was just huge. Just whatever was in there, I knew it was huge. And my buddy that had his back to it, he jumped towards it. It scared him. I mean, he jumped towards us like, run, run, run. And I looked, and me and my buddy, who were on the same side of the creek, we looked at each other, and we looked back at this, whatever happened, and we took off running into those vines. Now, had I known what a Dogman was back then, or had I gave serious thought towards cryptids, I probably would have thought twice about that. But we just jumped in there, guns first, and we got, I don't know, probably 5-10 foot into that thick stuff, and we pretty much had to stop. And I spotted the animal. He did too. He saw it. And I would say it was probably 50, 60 foot away, if that, maybe not even that far away from us. And we saw the back end, I would say it was on all fours, so I'd say from right about where mid-rib cage back to its tail, I saw that. We both saw the back end of it walking slowly, too. It was walking real slow. That's what was really weird. And it walked back behind some more thickets, and it was gone after that. I mean, we didn't see anything after that. But it was, like I said, I had my gun on me, and he did too. And neither one of us took a shot, because one of the rules, of shooting guns is you don't shoot at what you don't know. If you don't know what you're looking at, you don't shoot at it. And we had a good probably 8 seconds as this thing was very slowly walking back behind these thickets to shoot at it. And I pulled my gun up, and I was like, oh, it's Cody. Wait a minute. No, it's not. And I put my gun down. I pulled my gun back up real quick. Is it a bear? No, there's no bears around here. Put my gun back down. Was it a wolf? I went through every template, that I had of anything that it could have been, and I ended up not taking the shot because I had no idea what it was I was looking at. I couldn't identify it, and it was big. I'd say I'm 5'10". I'd say it came probably a little bit over my waist. Because, I mean, like I said, it wasn't far. It was easy to judge its size. It had canine legs, a bushy tail. Seemed as though the hair on the bottom end of it was thinner than the top hair, but I didn't get it, I didn't get a good look at the shoulders up of it. I didn't know what it was. Excuse me. So I never did see its head, and he didn't either, or its shoulders. But it was huge. It was black, very black, and it did not fit to any animal that should have been out there whatsoever. And I kind of put that in the back of my mind for a long time. And then I guess about a year ago, I started getting into cryptids and listening to just a bunch of different shows. And that buddy that saw it, I hadn't seen him in probably 8 years for the first time about 2 months ago. Okay. So it's about 2 months ago I saw him. And it's been at least 8 years since I saw him since that time. It's around 99, 2000, somewhere in there. No, it's probably longer than that. Gosh. I don't know. But that was one of the first things he asked me after, hey, how you doing? And then he said, did you ever figure out what that was that we saw out there? I said, yeah, I think I know what it was, man. And I introduced him to the cryptid world, and I hadn't talked to him much since then, but I think he's on board with it being a Dogman. It was something that it was huge. It seemed to have a canine body. It was moving real slow. It had no fear of us. I think when I jumped up real quick, because we were sitting down and we were hunched over, I think it thought we were smaller than what we really were, and I jumped up real quick. I think I scared it, and then it realized, it's just a human, and it stopped. It ran and then just stopped. That's what it seemed like to me. Like it jumped back real quick and then just stopped. And then just started walking real slow back behind. And that's another thing about it. I was like, well, why isn't this thing running for its life? You know, why isn't it scared? It doesn't even seem to care that I'm standing here. It knew I was there. It had to know he was there. And we were smoking too. So, I mean, predators, any predator where we're at, there's nothing this big. And they would have smelled those cigarettes. They wouldn't have, I think they would have ran away a long time before we ever saw them. So it was something that sure fit the description of a Dogman, at least from what I saw. And it was on all fours. Never did see it get on two legs. And it very much seemed like it had no fear of us whatsoever. After that initial little jump when I scared it, after that, it just seemed like, it was like, whatever, I see what you are now, I don't care, and just kind of just walked away. And that was a pretty wild deal.
Yeah, Now, it's strange that your friend, after not seeing him for that long, he would say, "How you doing?" And and he brings that up. So that tells me right there that there was something very unusual about that, about that creature.
He went right straight to it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it seems like to me that it seen you all, and it did one of those intimidation things, shaking the bushes and what have you. Then when you all popped up, it jots off to put a little bit of distance between you, but then it stops and waits for you to come in the woods, and then it slowly walks, trying to lure you in. I think it was luring you. I don't. The slow walk. I've heard that before on the things not caring that you're looking, but it seemed to me that it was walking slow enough to give you an opportunity to pursue it further. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That might
coyotes will do that to dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a setup, and that's what it feels
like.
It
may have very well have been. You know, I've never even thought about it that way. We stopped right there. We couldn't go any further. It was just too thick after that. I mean, this thing had no problem getting through it whatsoever. Right. And it was not very loud at all. After the initial shake, I guess it's probably a shake then. After that initial shake, I thought maybe it was just sitting in a tree branch that had the vines on it, but it may have been standing up there and just decided to give us a little jolt, you know. Yeah. And my buddy, he was about to break and run, and he saw us jump in there, and then he stopped and just kind of waited there. What was that? We don't know, man. And I said, well, let's just go back to the house. Let's get out of here, because I don't know what that was. And, you know, I was early 20s. I was, you know, tough guy. No, I wasn't scared of nothing. I had a rifle, high-powered rifle, and a couple buddies, and they were armed as well. So we weren't scared, you know. Now, had I known, like I said, what it was, I probably would have thought twice about it. I mean, I do now.
It's a good thing you didn't continue pursuing it. Because it sounds like that stood out enough to where that was a big factor in what you were.
Yeah.
You know, why would it walk slow like that, other than to give you a chance to pursue? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the biggest, I guess you could say, aura I was getting from it, is it had no fear of us whatsoever. It wasn't
running from you. I mean, it's not really running. No. From you. And did your friend say anything about that part?
No, I don't know. I don't remember. No, he just said that. He just asked, "What was that? Did you ever figure out what that was that we saw?" And I led him towards some cryptid channels. And
I mean, it obviously stood out to him so much so that's been in his mind.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what about it was so strange to him, other than, it was big and it was unlike, anything that should be out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I can, I got him. I can talk to him again about it, get more of it in detail. When I saw him, it's kind of like in a hurry kind of deal, and we were at a friend's house, and I was just stopping in. I was like, and there he was. I was like, oh my gosh, what's up, man? I haven't seen you in years. He said, pretty good. You ever figure out what that was we saw it in the field? And immediately, I just remembered all of it. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I know what it was. And I told him, I said, there you go, and what it is. And but yeah, I'll talk to him again. Maybe I might be able to get him to holler at you. That'd be good.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to know what he saw. You know, I mean, did you all ever talk about it amongst yourself that day or that night or?
No, I was back then. I was pretty backslidden, pretty bad. I was partying a lot. My next thought was, get home and get a fifth of whiskey and get wasted. So, I mean, if I would have thought about it, I probably would have been real drunk anyway. So, no, I think we were, I guess, just stupid. Early 20s. And
well, I mean,
stupid.
Unless you know something about cryptids, I mean, most people would be wondering what the heck it was,
Oh yeah, we were wondering as we walked back, to the house. I was like, "What the heck was it?" And my buddy, that it was behind, he was a lot bigger than us. He said, "Man, that thing was creeping up on me. It was looking for the biggest meal, biggest meal of the three." I was like, "Dang, dude, that thing was right behind you." He said, "Yeah, yeah, it was. Wow. It was. It seemed like it was creeping up on us. Something was going to jump us or something. But thing is, we don't have any predators in this area that would do something like that.
Right.
None. There once in a blue moon, I think I've seen one mountain lion out here, and that was once in, we'll say 30 years, just to be fair. I'm 40, but I've been out here, we'll say 30, since I've got 10 years growing up. I've been out running around out in this fields since I was 10. It's a wonder. They've probably seen me out here before.
So
who knows? Maybe
when it was shaking the vines, what did it seem like it was staying in one place, shaking the vines for a little bit, and then took off?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Look like it just set right there.
Wasn't like it was pursuing something through and it shook the vines as it was passing.
No, it was like it was doing it to let us know it was there. Like that, or I scared it, like I was saying. I mean, it was, like I said, I thought a cow was stuck up in there, and I scared a cow, and it went crazy shaking the vines trying to get out.
Yeah,
I was expecting to see a cow.
I don't think you scared it. You can say, you know it wasn't scared of you.
No, now. For sure. After a year of listening to this stuff, I know that they have very little regard for us, weapons or not. They could care less. Which takes me to the biblical perspective of what's going on, really. That's where I'm pretty much at with cryptids.
Yeah.
Of all kinds, After that, I don't discount anything anymore. You tell me you saw a gray, okay, I'll believe you.
I do. I've got.
You tell me you saw a Sasquatch.
I got an interview. I'm gonna try to do later of this lady and her son camping up in Alaska, and the cryptid that she explains what she saw, dude, is freaking crazy sounding. It's gonna be a very, very interesting encounter.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. She contacted Vic, but Vic's it was so crazy of a cryptid that he sent her to me. He said, "I think you need to talk to Brenton about that because I don't know what the heck you saw."
Yeah,
he kind of specializes in that stuff a little bit more.
Yeah, I think as we get closer to the end of the age, we're going to see things that are going to probably. Well, I mean, the word says you're going to have heart attack on sight once you see it. Some people will.
Yeah, I think
not
there's stuff
everybody.
coming out of the earth, man. I really do. Because
I think they're underground too.
Yeah, there's things that live subterranean, and I believe they're coming out, and that's one of the reasons they have a lot of the around Mammoth Cave area. They have a lot of unmarked federal like type cars, and they pull people over sometimes and take their cameras from them. SD cards and things. Yeah, they did that to Kurt.
Yeah,
because
where's Mammoth Cave at?
In Kentucky. It's one of the largest caves in the
world.
world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
There's lots of sections.
Fly an airplane through.
Yeah, and there's lots of sections that are off limits to people, and and there's lots of openings and things that are around the whole landscape that some are known about and some aren't, and maybe there are some that only the cryptids know about, and they haven't disguised
sure.
and what have you. But there seems to be people down there keeping track of what's going on, because there's things coming out and they want to know about it.
Yeah.
Strange, man. I'm telling you,
it's good they're keeping
crazy.
People out of there, though. I mean, you don't want somebody getting in there and getting killed or taken or something. One of these things, that'd be awful.
Oh yeah,
imagine that.
There was a story back in the 1800s of a lady who got abducted by one of those Darrow creatures that I had encountered with. She claimed that she was taken through Mammoth Cave into the subterranean realm city down there. I don't know how she got out of there. I didn't really ever read this. I read about the story, and I really was wanting to try to find a complete story that she told, that I never could find it.
May just got plucked out of there by God.
Maybe, because I think that's what they were trying to do when they came to me. They were trying to take me, and of course I've got that story of Steve Brody where they did take him and supposedly killed his friend, but he just kind of came to in New York City wandering around, but he recalls being in like a jail underground, and there's a lady that was sitting next to him. She had like this headband thing on, had these plates like over the temple areas. And every time she would come to, she looked at him. She was like, "Do you know where you're at?" He was like, "No." He's like, "You're in the Darrow caves." And then one of the Darrow creatures would see her, and it would come over and point that wand thing at her, and it would make her go back out. And interestingly enough, that when I had my encounter, it had one of those little wand things, and it stuck it to my temple. But that was when I had something intervened and scared that and the shadow thing off that was there. But yeah, that was a real encounter, man. I'm telling you, I know what I saw.
Yeah, I remember. I've listened to your encounter several times, actually.
Yeah.
Listen to that. It's very interesting. It's it's wild.
Yeah.
It's spirit realm and the physical realm colliding is what's happening, and it's going to be.
I wonder who was working for who.
The least.
You know what I mean? Was it the shadow thing was working with the Darrow, or the Darrow working with the shadow thing? You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Boy, it's hard to say.
Who's the handler?
Yeah, right.
But they were working together somehow or another. I mean,
yeah.
What a crazy creature, man. I speculate about what they are, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I really don't know 100%, but what information I've been able to gather has been through other people that have had encounters, and I'm the only one that I know of that said that the thing had blue around the nose. And then there's one group in California who one of the relatives was Richard Shaver, and he said that some of them have that blue around the nose because of fungus issues that they get down there in the underground realm.
Wild.
But it looked to me not to be like a fungal thing. It looked to me to be something that was more kind of like those monkeys that have the red around their nose area. It looked to me to be something that was biological, like it was part of their deal. And those monkeys that get that is because of hormones. And Richard Shaver said that these things were very, very hormonally messed up, perverted and things like that. And it made me wonder if that was causing some kind of issue like that around the. I don't know. It just.
Huh.
I mean, all you can do is kind of guess, but I can tell you right now, those things are real and they do exist.
Yeah.
And,
all we can do is compare it to what we do know about other creatures in nature. Why do they do what they do, and then kind of compare it to what we've seen and, like you said, speculate. But I think just my 2 cents. I think these cryptids are pre-Diluvian underground. Probably just genetic malfunction. Some of them are probably genetic malfunctions, or when a demon tries to create something, it's not going to be pretty. So,
or fallen angels created them. Fallen angels created them, and then whenever they die, they become disembodied, and they become the demons. Then they're disembodied.
Yeah.
So in a way, that Darrow might have been working with one of his relatives that was disembodied. That had died,
I would think the spiritual creature would be the leader, and the more physical one would be the underling.
Yeah,
would be my thought.
It would probably be an ancestor of the, I mean, it's some crazy stuff, man. Richard Shaver said they went underground because after, now he talked about it being some kind of event of the sun, and it changed the surface area to where it became poisonous for people, which we would call the flood, and it lost the canopy after the canopy broke, and then the flood happened and what have you. Then people started living shorter lifespans. So in a way, it kind of fits with what Richard Shaver was saying. So they went underground so they would avoid the detrimental rays that they called them, and still live longer lifespans. And the giant type creatures that lived here, they called the Atlans, which we would call probably the fallen angels. They eventually just left, and they left a lot of their technology, and that's what the Darrow was using, is their technologies and what have you. And I know he had technology. The thing had that little wand deal. And I don't know exactly what it was supposed to do, but there's other writings that people have come up with, like the Vril Yah, and they had these wand type things, and they were underground civilizations, and Anyway, I've got some videos on that kind of stuff, and kind of talk about some of it. But anyway, okay, let's go to another one of your.
Okay, sure. Well, I had that Dogman. I'll just give it real quick. I had the Dogman, and then I've had a lot of other demon stuff happen. And what's interesting is when it happened, when it started to happen, when I started to see it. But the most notable was the one that I was woken up in the middle of the night by God of Lord himself. He called out my name. So I'll just back up again and tell you I was raised Baptist. So the Holy Spirit and all things supernatural were taboo to me, essentially. In a sense. I mean, I could talk to my dad one-on-one about supernatural stuff, ghosts and monsters, and, being a Baptist and a hard-headed country boy, old school, nothing was real, and just be a good boy and do what I say, and everything will be fine kind of deal. But we started going to a church that would preach the Holy Spirit, the power of the Holy Spirit, and being baptized in the Holy Spirit. This was in this would have been about 10 years ago. We started going to a little church around here, and I got baptized in the Holy Spirit, and my wife did. She eventually did too, and my older kids did at that time too. And that was a revelation all within itself. It was very, very real. It was confirmation. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people now you got say that, but I got baptized in the Holy Spirit when I was in the Baptist church, I got baptized in water, and
Yeah.
whenever I got out of the water and stuff, and I came and sat down in the pews, that's when the Holy Spirit came on me. And I
Right.
mean, it was the
Yes.
most,
And I believe that too.
it was the most awesome feeling I've ever had in my life.
Oh, sure.
It's
When it gets on you, boy, you know it.
oh yeah, I mean, it's a joy and a peace and I remember thinking this is the best I've ever felt in my life. I hope this doesn't stop. You know, it was
Yeah.
wonderful. It
Uh-huh.
was incredible.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead,
It
man.
was
I
pretty.
just don't want people to think
So,
as a Baptist you can't have that.
oh, right, sure. Okay. All right. I should clarify that. Any denomination, anybody who accepts Jesus Christ can receive the Holy Spirit. It doesn't matter who you are. You don't even have to be in a church. You could just hear about it in radio and say, I'm accepting Jesus, you know, and then you got the Spirit on you. I did an actual event. I did an actual baptism of the Holy Spirit, and it's probably something I needed to do since I didn't really understand the power of the Holy Spirit. I wasn't taught it, you know, and then when I did that, things were revealed to me. And it was probably something that I just, you know, I needed to do my own personal walk to understand more about the Lord and his power. But after that is when I started seeing, I wouldn't say I'd see them. I could sense the presence of demons. Let's see. I was out working. Now I remember this now. There was two of them. I was out working one day. It was shortly after this happened. Pretty much out in the middle of nowhere, building a log cabin for a guy. And I was on a scaffolding, and I'm sitting there working along, suddenly something just got my attention, and I stopped, and I just picked my head up and looked in the direction of what I knew something was there. And, of course, I couldn't see anything because it's spiritual, but I could feel fear radiating like heat from this object, not say object, but from this spiritual creature it was passing by me is what it was doing. And as it passed by me, I watched it with my eyes. I could feel the fear. It was weird. I could feel the fear, but it was outside of my body. It was like emanating from this source, this invisible source. I would say some type of orb, probably. That's kind of what I got in my mind, that it was roundish. It was round, maybe, in some type of orb. And it passed me. And as it was passing me, like I said, I just watched it with my head as it went on. And I knew. I was like, that was definitely a demon. There's no doubt about that. And that time there was, I didn't see anything, but I know for a fact that encounter was demonic. It was, and it didn't stick around. Not that I noticed. It just went on. It just passed on by me, and it's actually going into the direction of a town. And this town is small town Oklahoma, and it's got a lot of problems. There's a lot of deception going on in that town. But that was that one, and then the next one, probably fast forward about 3 years from there, and it's probably around 3:00 in the morning, which is it's considered the hour of, when the veil is the thinnest, spirits are moving, and they're trying to do their business, and good and bad, and so 3:00 in the morning, I'm out. I've been asleep for hours, and I sleep hard. You wouldn't have to drug me if you needed to get me from one place to another in 3:00 in the morning. I'm not waking up. And I heard, dead sleep, I heard my name, Jeren. It was loud and clear, and it was so loud and clear that I sat straight up, wide awake, and out loud, just like that. And they said, pray. And I said, okay. And I kind of just put my head down, started praying, and I just slowly leaned back and started falling asleep. And he did it again. He said, Jeren. It was louder and more stern this time. I jumped up again. I was like, yes. He said, get up and pray. I said, okay. I got up on my feet, and I started praying in tongues, praying in the Spirit, and praying, just, praising God and praying. And I walk out of my room to the hallway, and there it was. Boom. It was shadow within shadow, if that makes sense. A human-like figure. In fact, at first I thought it was a person. And I was getting ready to do something physical, and I stopped. I was like, well, what if it's my wife? No, she was in the bed right next to me. What if it's one of the kids? And I'm still praying and getting closer to this thing, and I'm realizing what it is. That's not human. That's not anybody that's supposed to be in here. And I keep walking towards it and praying, and he kind of just passed through the wall into the kitchen, and I took a left and went into the kitchen. I knew which way he went. I went in there, and it was standing there in front of the door into the garage. And I kept walking towards it and praying, and it backed off out into the yard. I knew it was there. I knew I was pushing it back, and it went through the door, through the wall, and it was out into the yard, like you would think a ghost would, basically, his spirit. And so I walk out there, walk outside, and I'm praying, and it's standing there in the yard, and it's just black. It just looks like the silhouette of a person with a robe on him, basically. It's black. It's not human. I know it's not. And I got outside, and I could get a little bit louder. I'd get a little bit more stern with it. And and it just disappeared. And for the next couple of weeks after that, it tried coming back around. It was actually, interesting enough, hanging out on top of the barn in the evening times. I knew it would be there. I saw it a couple of times just sitting there. Well, not sitting, but it was standing, covering. But I saw it. I mean, there's no doubt. I was like, yeah, that's a demonic spirit trying to infiltrate my house. And every time it would pop up, I'd pray and thank God for his mercy and his grace. And, I'd basically attack it spiritually. And because that's all you can do. And that, I mean, you can't fight something like that physically. It'd kill you, So, and that was, those two. There was a lot of other demon stuff that's happened, but man, most of it was just like a sensing. Like I knew they were there, and I kind of got an idea of what they look like. Some of them. One of them I saw, I didn't see it. I guess what I'm trying to say is it was revealed to me throughout a process that God did. If that makes sense. He was showing me what it was that was there, like throughout the day. If it was a process of revealing what it was, and one of them, what I took from it, it looked like a little Buddha man that liked dead things. And I smelled it. I mean, I could smell it. Like, as the day went on, it wasn't there anymore. Like I said, God was revealing this to me. I knew it had been there, that it had passed on and went somewhere else. Excuse me. But God revealed to me what it smelled like. It smelled like roadkill, basically. It stunk. It was bad. And it looked like a little dirty Buddha man in a little diaper that like that stuff, like wallow around in it like a dog, basically. And just some type of underling demonic force or demon or whatever you want to say. But it wasn't, that was one of them. There's other stuff that's happened that was revealed to me, but it's kind of like, it's hard to explain, It's kind of one of the things that me and God had, and we have our own personal relationship with God through Jesus, and, said, so there are things that me and my Father share that he doesn't want other people to be involved in, if that makes sense. Like there's personal things between me and him that are just for me and him only. And that's like that for every Christian. of course, he wants you to tell everybody about Jesus and the good news. But I think the part of, he's a jealous God in that he doesn't want us to worship anything else, of course. And he wants us to have our own personal our own little inside relationship with him as well as the public, as well as what everybody sees, But that was two of the demon encounters that really stood out to me. Okay.
Well, I guess we'll talk about the demon encounters and the Shadow Man and stuff like that at the end of this. If you would, let's talk about your friend's Dogman encounter and then your Bigfoot encounters.
Sure. Now, it was around, 2.5 years ago. This is kind of what got me started. It was a slow process, but this is what got me started into really checking out cryptids on, YouTube, Google, whatever. I had a friend. Now, he had a lot of problems already. There was some sickness in the family, marriage, money. He was fine with money. That was about the only area of his life that he was doing good in. So there was problems there already. Now, he shows up at my house. Like I said, it was about 2.5 years ago, somewhere in there, maybe 3. It had been the end of winter, beginning of spring. It was raining. He was fishing down at, I won't say the name because I don't want to give away too much information, but it was at a wildlife management area, and a pretty good sized creek. They call it a creek. It's kind of in between a river and a creek. But he shows up at my door and said that he had to leave, and he left his shotgun there right at the edge of the creek. And it had started raining, and he had to hurry up and leave because it was raining. It floods real bad. It's a low spot all through there. It's just miles of low spot. But the roads are gravel. Well, not gravel. They're big chunks of gravel. So if you have a truck, you can drive down in there to where he was. But he was in a car. So he stopped on his way back home and got me and said, "Hey, we need to go get my gun, man. It's going to get, the creek's rising. It's going to take it soon." I said, "Okay." And on the way there, he was talking about the good old days, glory days. And he said that he was talking about the old days, and then he just switched gears on me and said, "Well, I had to leave in a hurry because it was raining." I said, yeah, that creek, it fills up fast. And then he starts talking about, stuff we used to do when we were younger. And then he jumps right back into it, and he says, they say the highest concentration of werewolves are in Oklahoma. And he said that, and I just kind of looked at him like, what? Okay. Because, I didn't know anything about Dogman at that. And after he said that, he went right back to talking about something else. He just threw those two things in there just out of the blue. And we ended up going out there. We found his gun. The creek did not get it. It was back up in their ways. I think we probably, 3/4 of a mile back up in there, somewhere in there. It was dark, and it was still kind of raining. And he didn't seem too paranoid or too nervous about it, but he certainly did not waste any time getting us in there and getting us out of there. And he, I know he didn't want to be alone. I think he probably could have drove his car back out there. I think he really just wanted me to come back out there with him, because he said that about werewolves, and he kind of changed the story on why he had to leave real soon. He said he was fishing, and he had to leave real soon because it was raining, and he forgot his gun. And then he told me when we were picking up his gun, he told me that he had to drop it and run out. And I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But I didn't get into it too much because, like I said, he already had a lot of problems going on, and I'm just kind of there, just listening, just just kind of a shoulder, I guess you could say. And he he changed his story on that, and then he said the deal about there's werewolves in Oklahoma, and I'm thinking a man who turns into a werewolf. I'm not thinking Dogman, you know. And so I didn't take it seriously. But it was about a week after that, if that, a few days after that, he tried to kill himself, and I think he didn't kill himself. He shot himself, and it didn't kill him. It messed him up real bad. It was a real bad deal. It was in his face, but he survived it. It was bad, and he ended up dying from complications from that later on. Not too much longer after that, a few months later. But I think he was trying to tell me, without coming out and saying it, that he saw a werewolf out there. What he thought was probably a werewolf was most likely a Dogman. And I think that
when he came by your house, you said he had a shotgun with him and he left it there?
No. He left the shotgun out at the creek. He had AR-15. He had an AR-15 and a shotgun. He had an AR with him, and he left the shotgun is what he left at the creek. And that shotgun, his
did
dad
he have the AR when he came from the creek, or did he go home and get it and then come get you?
No. He had that. I guess he left that in his car while he was out fishing and took his shotgun with him. And then when it started raining or he had to run, whichever one it was, he dropped the shotgun or just ran. Maybe he shot it and flipped out because it didn't do anything to it, you know, and he ran into his car, and the AR-15 was in his car. He brought it with him, though, because he ended up leaving it at my house for some reason. I'm not sure why, but he brought it out there with him when we went back out there. And so his shotgun, the shotgun he had was out there still at the creek. We were going back to get that shotgun. So I don't know. And it had a lot of sentimental value to him because his dad made stock for the gun, and it was a Christmas gift, and it was a real big deal for him. So he wanted that gun back. You know, it meant a lot to him. But it seemed weird, though, that he just dropped it or just left it there, you know, something that meant that much to him. And, you know, he would just leave it there and forget about it, and then he said he dropped it after that. I'm just thinking, I didn't know which one he did. I'm thinking he dropped it. I'm thinking he shot at the Dogman, and it didn't deter it. It probably, I'm betting it was on the other side of the creek, and that creek was swollen pretty bad. That Dogman may not have wanted to try to get across the creek. I mean, I know how big that creek gets when it's swollen. I think he probably could have jumped it if he wanted to, and maybe that's what it did. I don't know, but he was wanting that gun back, and I couldn't understand why something that meant so much to him, he just left it out there and changing his story on me twice. You know, it was all very suspicious to me. And then I started kind of looking into it, werewolves and, you know, and stuff. And I eventually came across cryptids.
Sounds like he was maybe fishing and a Dogman popped up and he grabs the AR and he got so scared he ran. And, you know, I doubt if he dropped the gun. I mean, that just don't sound right to me. It sounds like to me that he encountered this thing and the gun he grabbed was the AR. And then once he figured out that it probably wasn't a good idea to shoot this, he took off and figured he'd just come back and get
left that one sitting there.
Yeah. You know, I mean, when you're running for your life, you don't need to carry another gun, you know. But if I was going to shoot it, I'd shoot it with the shotgun. You know,
yeah, I would too.
Depending on what I had
think
in
it was a 410.
Oh,
yeah, I think it was just a 410.
No, I wouldn't shoot it with a 410. No.
Shot. Yeah.
If it was a 12 gauge with slug or buckshot, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I had to put a hole in something.
It'd have been way too close to do anything with it for a 410. It'd have to be pretty much right at the end of the barrel.
Oh, you'd have to have it sticking in his eye, you know.
Yeah, or his mouth or something. Yeah, that'd be all over for you. You wouldn't make that.
Yeah.
But that was that one, and that's what got me started on. And I after that, after he died in his funeral, I started thinking about that stuff, and I started looking into werewolves in Oklahoma, and I came across you and Vic and the Cryptid brothers. They're in the Oklahoma crew, and I came across a whole bunch of stuff. There's, I'm sure all your listeners of all the other channels and stuff that are out there. I listen to a bunch of them. I always get your updates.
Yeah. When I first started this, there wasn't but me and Vic, and then Sasquatch Chronicles. But the Sasquatch Chronicles really isn't Wes putting those on there. There's people stealing his videos and putting them on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, Wes doesn't even have a YouTube channel. Yeah, and that's the reason he can't make a copyright claim on him, because he doesn't have his. See, if someone steals my stuff, I can make a claim because I can show that I'm the one that posted this, and I'm the original poster. And but where he doesn't have a channel, he can't really do that. I mean, I guess he probably could appeal to but I told him, I was like, dude, go make you a channel. And
yeah, no kidding.
It's and he can make the claim, not just that they're stealing his content, but they're posing as him.
Yeah,
because a lot of people.
Yeah, see, that had me fooled. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, dang pirates, man, and people doing that stuff. They know it's not cool. They know it's against the rules.
Oh,
they
sure.
do it. I got people stealing stuff all the time, and it's just so much of a hassle to deal with it.
Yeah.
But if I make the claim, they'll take the stuff down, and if they have very many claims, they'll shut the channels down, and it's typically what happens is they get shut down, the whole channel. But they're doing it on purpose, man. I have people that come and steal 100 or so of my videos, and how much time would it take to do that? I mean, and they're doing it on purpose to try to harm me and like draw revenue and stuff, and starve me out. But
yep, it's all about the money.
Yeah, I mean, they're haters of some type. I really don't know what the deal is. Why in the heck somebody be hating me like that? If you don't like it, just don't.
Well, and you might also have government or contract government crews coming in posing as somebody else and stealing it, trying to get rid of stuff maybe, or trying to run you out of town one way or another. Yeah, we know there's a cover-up involved.
I know that there was someone who asked if they could share some of my stuff, and I said no. At the time, it was they were wanting to share a couple of the videos I just had posted, and I wasn't sure how it was. It's kind of a subject that I just did this particular idea a couple times, and I didn't know how good it was going to do, and I didn't want someone else posting competition against me, so I wouldn't be able to know the numbers that I was going to get on it. So I said, right now, no, and that's when it started, and I think that I had someone see if they could find out who it was, and when they brought me back the name, it was the name of this email address of the person who had asked me this to share the stuff. Yeah. So anyway, superfluous stuff there, I guess. Well, yeah, man, that your friend there. It's horrible that he would, be in such a way that he would consider shooting himself. That's not going to fix anything. Suicide won't fix nothing.
It's not going to help you.
If you're, especially if being a Christian, we know that you think life sucks here. Kill yourself and then go and spend it in in the lake of fire. for all
Yeah.
eternity. You know, and I hear sometimes people saying, you know, the Bible doesn't say anything about hell. Yes, it does. Jesus preached more on.
Apparently, that person didn't read it.
Yeah, I mean, you have not read it because Jesus talked about hell more than he did heaven.
Yeah, he sure did. In fact, he
Yeah.
went there after he died.
Yeah, he did. It says if he ascended, then he first descended and went into the innermost parts of the earth. I made a video about that, the real hollow earth. And the innermost parts in the Greek meant heart of. In the center of this earth, there is a hell, and you know, and you can call it whatever you want, you know. And before Jesus came, there was he explained that there was Abraham's bosom, and there was a gulf that no man could cross, and then hell, lake of fire, was across that gulf. So there was two compartments, but when you think about it, when you know, the scripture speaks about Abraham's bosom. Some people think that it's talking about his breast, like you know, you know, lay your head on his bosom kind of thing. But that's not what it is. A bosom that the scripture is referring to is a pocket that was in the garments that they wore in those days, and they were multi-pocketed. They had multiple compartments in these bosoms of the garment. So when it used the word bosom, it fit it better because there was you know, Abraham's bosom, and then there was like a fire, and you know what I'm saying, there's more than one compartment there. And yeah, I mean, because people didn't have pockets on their garments, they had a pocket in their garment, like in the bosom of the garment where they would carry stuff. You know, you'd reach in your robe there, or whatever you want to call it, and pull out your coins or whatever, and that kind of thing. But yeah, suicide's not going to fix nothing. You'll end up in a place that you suffer worse. If you know someone wants to check out kind of what that's all about, you know, Jesus told, you know, the rich man and Lazarus story. Just Google it, rich man and Lazarus, and he explained, you know, there's one guy who was carried by angels into Abraham's bosom. And then it just says that the other one, ended up in the lake of fire. And it didn't say angels bore him there. Demons might have, but or fallen angels or what have you. But it's a place of much suffering. It was horrible. The guy, you know, he was in torment. You know, thirsty. There's no water. Hell is so hot, so dry that you will do anything for one drop of water. That's how valuable water is there, you know. Because he was asking, can you have excuse the ambulance there? Can you send Lazarus over and give me one drop of water on my tongue, you know? And he's like, no, I can't do it. No one can cross over to you, so it's over, you know. But whenever Jesus did die on the cross, he went into the innermost parts of the earth, and it says he led captivity captive and ascended on high and gave gifts unto men. And it says that in the New Testament, but it's quoting something from the Old Testament. And so he went into the earth, and he led those captives that was there in Abraham's bosom. He proclaimed something first, and then he brought them out, and then they ascended with him. And then he, you know, then that was what opened up the door to give, you know, gifts, spiritual gifts unto men, like, you know, the gift of, you know, joy and love and peace and, you know, the Holy Ghost, you know what I'm saying, that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, there's gifts of
all the authority.
Long suffering and, you know, all those kind of things, or temperance, you know. Yeah.
All the stuff I need to work on.
Yeah. Most of us need the temperance thing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's easy to get agitated in this world.
Yeah,
but, you know, God's
sure.
good to work with us, you know, and be, you know, patient and kind and, you know, gentle about it.
Well, that's a good thing, too.
Amen. Okay, well, your Bigfoot stuff, let's get into that if you want to.
Okay, sure. Well, that was at It would have been right at spring, start of spring this year. I'm what? I don't even know. April, May. I don't know. May, I guess. Let's see. A storm had passed through. It was about 11:30 or 12 at night, somewhere in there. Storm passed through, and I went. The storm was. It was back off to the northeast, somewhere in there of the house. It was still raining, but it wasn't storming though. The wind wasn't blowing or anything like that. It was just a little rain, and I heard a limb break, and I mean it was big. It was a crack, and I'm going through my head. I guess, let's see, psychology, they teach you what's called the template theory. When you don't understand something, you try to compare it to other templates, that you have stored in your memory to find out what it is that you're hearing or looking at or tasting or whatever it is, the five senses. And I'm going, it happens in a flash, and I'm going through my mind trying to figure out what could have caused that limb to break. It was on the same creek that I had that Dogman encounter back in '99. It's on that same creek, but it was just behind my house. It was about 400 yards, probably 3 back behind my house down in this field on this creek. Now, I heard the snap, and where I say snap, it was almost the crack of a rifle. That's almost how loud it was. In fact, at first I thought it was a rifle. I thought it was a rifle and thought maybe Cal was stepping out there, or I thought maybe I didn't know. There's no wind. The storm had stopped, so there's no wind to break a tree branch or anything. And it sounded like just a big crack. And within seconds of hearing that crack, straight east of me on the same creek, just not but 100 yards on the same creek, I heard a wood knock. It was quick, and it sounded like it was knocking on a hollow log. It almost sounded like an instrument, the way it sounded. And it was a response to the wood break. It was probably a communication for either hunting, or they saw me step out in the backyard or on the porch back there. They probably saw me, because I stepped out and I wasn't out there just for like 2-3 seconds when I heard the snap, and then 2-3 seconds, if that, and I heard the response with the wood knock. And I honestly actually believed at first that the response was a woodpecker. And here I am, Mr. Cryptid. I know all about cryptids and stuff. I think I'm some kind of knowledgeable guy. And my mind, first of all, goes straight to natural things. I wasn't even trying to think cryptid. I went in, sat down. My wife was on the couch. I said, I just heard this limb snap. And then I heard what sounded like I think it was a woodpecker just right over here. It was loud too. And she said, honey, there's not going to be any woodpeckers at midnight right after a storm pecking on a tree. And then it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. That was probably 2 Sasquatch back there. Now, the creek floods, and it floods a portion of the field that's behind my house too. And there are, any given time, any given day, you walk out in my backyard and look out in that field, there will be 3 or 4 deer out there at any time. Every day I go out there and I look, there's deer out there. 3 or 4 of them running around. At night, I'll shine the flashlight out there. They're out there. And they're always out there. And I think what they were doing was, I think they were waiting for deer to cross where that creek's flooded. and where they got to where they were swimming, I think they're snatching them up out of the water right there, just taking off with them. I think they were hunting those deer coming through there, and that alone is it raised a lot of red flags, I guess you could say. But that alone kind of wasn't enough for me. But about a month ago, something came through the yard and broke a tree branch off of our peach tree, and it was a pretty big branch. I mean, it would have took effort to do it if it was a person, you know. And it was kind of twisted. It wasn't really twisted, because I know when they break them, they twist them too sometimes. And it had a little bit of twist in it, but it wasn't too bad. And I just left that branch out there. I thought, well, if they're communicating, you know, maybe if I just leave them alone, they'll leave me alone, and we won't have to have any unpleasant encounters in the future. And because I got my kids running around out there in the backyard, and I know they'll take kids, they'll take women, they'll take men, they'll take anybody if they can get you, you know. Just like that Dogman you were talking about stalking us out there. And I've been setting us up, but I'm pretty sure that what I heard was a tree break and a tree knock. In fact, I'm certain that's what it was. I never did see anything step out into the tree line or anything. There was lightning flashing, and I was looking, you know, trying to figure out what that was out there. But I couldn't see anything, because, 400 yards away and 100 yards away on the creek, flooded, and, you know.
Yeah, you know,
the field, I couldn't.
Those tree breaks that you're talking about, when they're big like that,
yeah.
I mean, you know it's not a limb falling, because it's like...
No,
way too much. When it crashes, it's like...
Yeah.
You know, it's like, man, it's a loud pop and echoes, and then you hear another knock, you know, in response. And you said it sounded kind of musical?
Yeah, it sounded like kind of a hollow log, musical kind of sound to it. I mean, it clearly wasn't a musical instrument. I'm not saying that Sasquatch is out there playing a flute. That's not what I mean. But he
had
was...
a tone to it.
Whatever... Yeah, it had a tone, and it probably meant something. The tone probably means something to him.
Well, what I was thinking is that they've been seen making these noises, and they're not even really hitting the log. They're doing it with their voice, and actually even sometimes tree knocks. There's been people that seen them hit something, a tree, with a limb, but they've also seen them hit a tree with their hand, and it sounds just like a limb hitting a tree, because their hands are just so tough, you know.
Yeah.
And then also they've been seen making the tree knock noise with their mouth. Sounds just like it too. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was definitely out of place. I mean, there was no reason I could come up with why that tree branch broke, and it was loud. Like I said, I almost thought for a second, I thought, is that a rifle? But why would somebody be out there?
You know, and the fact that you don't go straight to cryptids is a good thing, because, you know, if people that do that too easily, a lot of times are thinking everything is, you know, Bigfoot. And, you know, I've been camping before. Here, I cover this stuff, man, for a living. And I've been camping and had 3 trees pushed over and stuff being thrown at me before I was, okay, this might be Sasquatch. You know, because I was giving it, you know, well, it might have been a tree just fell, you know. And then another one fell, and it's like, okay, maybe 2, you know, it could happen. But 3 is like, I don't know, man, this is starting to, you know, there's a whole lot of trees to be falling back there.
Yeah.
And then when I was fishing, they were throwing stuff at me, and you know, then I started putting it together. It's like, okay, this is squatchy going on here. And, you know, and then after that, I started looking more for signs of them and seeing, you know, the tree structures and stuff. And, you know, then they started coming messing with me. When they notice that you notice them, they'll start messing with you then. So if you don't want their attention, ignore it.
Yeah.
Act like you don't know.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
As soon as I went up there and I was looking around, that was when they came down there and grabbed me in my tent, man.
Ooh.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Kind of run.
They're wanting to interact with us. I don't know why, but they want to interact with people. I mean, why would a Dogman and a Sasquatch have its face in your window, middle of the night, tapping on the window? What are they up to?
Yeah,
They're wanting to interact with us.
The thing is,
One
that
reason
you
or
don't
another.
know if it's going to be one of them deals where you come up missing or not. That's
Oh, sure. I would assume
never
that
trust them.
it's nefarious. Yeah.
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 And
I would
people
assume that it's a bad deal.
Yeah, a lot of people they're just wanting to be friends and all that. They could be
Yeah.
deceiving you too, playing a long con on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Making it seem friendly at first and then start luring you a little further and a little further. I've had cases like that where, the kid was playing with them and they kept luring her further and further into the woods each time, and I was like, man, that don't sound good to me. Here they are, taking a little bit deeper, and then next thing you know, something's going to happen and you're not going to be home again. Yeah.
They might be looking to be fed too. Some of them might be because they know we got food. We're an easy source of food. Maybe somebody might be throwing scraps out and maybe missed the night or she got sick and 2 or 3 days didn't throw the scraps out. Now they're looking in the window wanting to know where their scraps are. They may be or the dog food can on the front porch.
That's typically stuff that they can't find when they get upset like that. But they don't have a problem getting food, man. They can take a rock and kill an animal,
Sure.
And they can run a deer down. They're good at hunting. I mean, like you said, they're deer. They're probably snagging them right out of the water. They'll come up with some easy way.
Yeah, I think that's what they were doing.
Yeah, communicating.
I think they were waiting right there.
Yeah. One of them will run the deer down the path, the other one will just reach out there and snag it and pow, pop it up against the tree and it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen them with deer like leg ripped off or the head smacked up inside the tree, kind of deal, and a lot of times they're just so good at it they don't even have to worry about eating the whole carcass. That sometimes they'll kill those animals and just eat the the liver and the heart and stuff like that for the the vitamins that are in those parts and leave the rest of the whole carcass right there. So it's not like they're jonesing for food, It's they can get food anytime they want. And I even think they manage their herds a little bit too. That down there at Dale Hollow, I really believe that I can show. I even have some pictures of the deer where they're herding the deer up onto these 2 islands that the deer can basically walk between, across the water to each of the islands, but they keep them herded down to the last. There's like a series of like 5 islands, and they keep them on the last 2, and I believe they stay on the 3rd one. But I've never seen any wildlife on the 3rd island. It's always on the last 2, and then nothing's on the 3rd one. Except me camping there. I didn't know, But I even mentioned to my friend before I ever thought, there was any Bigfoot there. It's like, dude, I've never seen a bird or a rabbit or a raccoon or nothing, a squirrel, nothing on this island ever. The only thing I ever saw was a snake, and it was actually in the water. Little copperhead, and he got on my fish basket, and we ended up killing it, or trying to kill it, and he got away. And I was scared to go sleep, Like,
they'll do that. They'll fish.
Yeah, he was on my fish basket, and I was trying to get him. I tried to snag him with my fishing pole, and I was gonna drag him up on the shore and cut his head off. Because the copperheads don't dig that, man. Those things are deadly, especially when you're out a long way away from a hospital, But
you definitely don't want to get bit.
Yeah, you've had some interesting encounters, man, and the whole demon thing, with the shadow people. Those things usually come with the purpose of, well, we know that they come to steal, kill, and destroy. Oh, the Bible
Mm-hmm.
says they come only to. So they're coming for bad reasons all the time. But it seems like the shadow people, they primarily are targeting your health.
Okay.
Doing something health wise, making a person feeling sick or feeling tired or feeling, something to do
Mm-hmm.
with degenerating your health over time. And a lot of times people fall into depressions
Mm-hmm.
and things like that over it. Now the other little Buddha thing, was that something that you were seeing like that looked physical? Because see, there's differences.
No.
There's differences. Like when I had my encounter when I was 5, this thing was a
Uh-huh.
red devil with curled ram horns and stuff. He had a body. He was able to go through the wall, but he was also able to grab a hold of me. He was physical. He had
Yeah.
skin. I've seen his fingernails, his cuticles, and he had a body like Apostle Paul was talking about. There's different kinds of flesh. There's flesh of animals and fish, and flesh of terrestrial and celestial, and terrestrial being us. And it talks
Right.
about this in a place in the Bible where it talks about when we get resurrected, we get our new bodies. So he's explaining different types of flesh. You'll get a new body. You're not going to just be a spirit hovering around at see through. You're going to get a body, and it's going to be a body like Jesus had when he was resurrected. He went to Thomas and says, thrust your hand in my side and see if I'm not flesh and bone. He took his body with him. That's why you'll never find Jesus' body on this earth because it's not here. It was changed in a twinkling of an eye, kind of deal. And like Apostle Paul said, we don't know what we're going to be like yet, but we'll know. We will know, and we'll know Jesus because we'll be like him. We're going to be changed into a body like he's got. And so there's different types of encounters where sometimes these creatures, like the Darrow thing, it was a physical being. It had a device in his hand, it had technology, and
Yeah, that's wild.
the devil thing with the horns. That was a fallen angelic being. He had a body. Now a demon is when these Nephilim hybrids were killed throughout Scripture. Because the angels, they corrupted all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of flesh, not just human. They corrupted animal flesh and insect, and they made all kinds of crazy chimeras and type
Oh,
creatures,
sure.
mixtures and blends. And but whenever one of these things is killed, even like Goliath and stuff like that, when they come out of their body, they're disembodied then, and they'll never receive another body. They're not subject to the resurrection. The Bible says that they won't be resurrected, so they know they'll never have a body again, and that's why they seek to inhabit other bodies. And
Yeah.
they don't like being without a body. It must be an uncomfortable thing. Even when
I imagine so.
when Jesus cast that legion out, they went to the hogs. The hogs
Yeah.
didn't like it either. They ran into the sea. It's like, screw this.
Yeah,
I'd
they
rather
kill
die.
themselves. Mhm.
You're going to be out of this
Yeah.
pig body in a minute. And
Yeah, it's wild.
yeah, so
That whole thing with the technology, that really sets off a lot of thoughts on other possibilities of things
yeah,
that are happening out here.
when the Bible talks about chariots of fire and stuff like that, these things can possibly be real vehicles.
Sure.
That they have. Um, whenever people see an angel, they're wearing clothes. There's stuff. It's not just a blob of a being. And there's real physical stuff that they have. And when we go to heaven,
Right.
we go to the wedding supper. We're going to get real food. So people don't think about that. But like what was
Right.
manna?
Sure.
Manna out in the wilderness was bread from heaven. And we could eat it, and angels can come here and eat with us and eat our food. So we're not that much different. Apostle Paul said they're different, but the glory is different. So whatever that means, we're very
Yeah.
very similar. similar enough to where they can mate with us, you know.
Obviously,
Yeah, you know,
yeah.
and produce you know, strange beings, but you know, that are hybrid type, you know, typically giants, and I don't think all the Nephilim were giants either, because there's all different kinds of angels, you know. You know, there's all kinds of angelic beings that are even beyond description. You know, when you look
Yeah.
at the Bible explaining some of them that are near the throne, look at the what the description is. Man, it seems like a monster.
Yeah. Yeah. Multi-headed, multi-tailed, multi-winged. It sounds like a real creature.
Yeah,
But yeah, that you know, I just that whole thing with them having technology, that makes sense too. Because I mean, they've watched us make stuff, and they know how to influence. And apparently, they have, like you were saying, some sort of physical uh, characteristic to them, obviously, and
yeah.
they can make stuff.
I mean, you can entertain one unaware. That's how real
Sure.
they would appear to you. You know, how can you sit down and have dinner with someone, and they end up being an angel and you didn't know it? It's because they're that much similar to
Right.
us. You know, they don't have to,
Right.
but they can also appear to you in a more glorified form, and look, you know, kind of, you know what I'm saying, from another realm there. You know, the Elohim realm. You know, a lot of people think
Mm-hmm.
Elohim is the name of God. It's not. It's Elohim is used for God. The word God in the Bible, like in the beginning, you know, it talks about Elohim. You know, created everything kind of deal. But Elohim is also used for Baal. It's also used for whenever the witch of Endor called up Saul, or called up Samuel. When Saul went to the witch and said, "Can you call Samuel up? I need to ask him something," because you know she was used to getting advice from the prophet, and she says like, "No, you're trying to trick me because you know he recently had outlawed it and you get put to death if you you know do any of that conjuring stuff like that." But she ended up calling him up, and she's like, "Behold, I see a spirit coming up," but in the Hebrew it was the Elohim. You know, so the Elohim is more ascribing to the being of its location. It's kind of like if we say
Okay.
a spirit being. You know what I'm saying? It's more of telling like where you're from than any characteristic, you know, of
Okay.
who you
Yeah.
are, something like that. So you know, people just need to be aware of that when they come across that word and it being used and thinking it only refers to God, you know, the Father. It doesn't. It can be used for you know anyone from that side.
Okay. All right. Makes
But
sense. I can. I couldn't imagine seeing one of the things being born. I
what?
saw all my kids be born. That was enough.
Oh, you talking about the Nephilim being born?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine watching that thing come crawling out of your wife or whatever. That's
Oh man, some of the times in some of the writings it talks about it killed the woman. Woman
I
didn't
would
survive it.
imagine so.
Yeah, and it
It's
maybe not
completely
all the
unnatural.
time. You know, maybe they're born and they just grow that big. You know, but in some
Yeah.
cases it's not like that. It was, you know, and it talks about the corrupted. You know, other all flesh. You know, so
Yeah. Yeah.
you know when
Which
people said
which would
see the
explain.
mantids and stuff like that. You know, what
Yeah.
I
That's
mean that's
exactly what I was about to say. Actually, was the mantids. That was
yeah.
where I was about to go. And the Darrow, that deal. All these mantids, Dogman, Sasquatch. I'm not even so sure that centaurs and minotaurs weren't real either. You know, I'm
Oh yeah,
thinking, wait a
yeah,
minute,
I'm
what?
sure they are. You know, all
Maybe
the
our
Greek
fairy tales aren't
mythology,
so.
you know, Greek mythology tells
Yeah,
basically the same stuff the scriptures tell. that we talk about.
Yeah.
Giants and
Yeah.
and these hybrid creatures. We talk about that all the time. They just call them,
Yeah.
different names. We call them cryptids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. It's really something if you think about it. The way it's coming out now. I mean, they're coming out in numbers. It seems like. I mean, I understand the information with the internet. We can talk more now, and we can get these stories out over a more broad spectrum. But it seems to me also that it's just happening more and more and more as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a sign. It's just a sign, that we're drawn to a close here. And when it will happen, who knows? And nobody knows, and we'll never know. But it's going to happen sooner or later.
It almost feels like we're being reconned.
We are. We're being attacked.
The Bigfoot and the Dogman and stuff like that are on the edges of these woods and forests and stuff, and they're watching or looking in our windows, and they're reconning us, and whenever the Bible talks about that Abaddon's released out of the pit, he's given charge over the beast of the earth, and he's given authority to kill a fifth part of mankind. And, he's going to give orders to all these beasts, and could you imagine an army of Bigfoot and Dogman coming to your towns? And then they have the authority. A lot of people's like, he could have broke my door down, but didn't. Yeah, he doesn't have permission.
Oh, sure.
He doesn't have authority to do that right now. And the ones who end up doing that, they end up punished.
Sure.
That God would intervene, and they would be in trouble. They'd end up in the pits, locked up. So they typically won't, but they can. They can go to someone's house and kill them, and they have. But since they're not given permission to do it, if they do it, they're going to be in some trouble. And I mean that's my opinion on it, because it's almost as if they want to and it, but they don't, and then people are confused by it. So it could have just ripped the door down. Because why was the thing knocking on the house and wiggling your door handle? He could rip that door right off the hinges.
Yeah, and they're definitely watching this, because, I mean, if they know to turn the doorknob and they're watching us function or things, they know. I mean, I've heard stories of them checking doorknobs on doors, on cars, try to get in cars. And
oh, yeah, they can open car doors or something. I mean, there's one story.
They're watching us.
The guy that got killed down here at the in Kentucky, down by the Cumberland River area. They killed him and took him down and put him in his truck. Of course, his head was twisted around backwards, and his legs was up behind him. They set him in the seat of the truck, and his legs were behind his head, sticking up.
Yeah.
Gruesome sight.
I seriously doubt a person was able to do that.
No, fold you in half, turn your head around, and then stick you in the truck. No. And leave a bunch of footprints that are huge.
Yeah.
But he had shot one, though.
Oh, yeah. They'll come for you if you shoot him.
He was sighting his gun at the gravel pit, and he shot one, and he went up there. You could see his footprints going up there to look at it where he shot it. And then there was other footprints that come out of the woods, and blood, and all of a sudden, footprints going down to his truck and back out and into the woods. Of course, that got covered up.
Oh, sure. And that's another aspect of this whole thing that is I don't know.
A lot of people think the government's covering it up because they don't want us to know.
Right.
But I would say there's probably a lot of people in the government that don't know what to think of it. Unless they're Christians and they study the scripture, I mean, they might be thinking, what the hell? I don't know what it is,
Yeah. Well, the word says there's spiritual wickedness in high places. Yeah. So,
and then the ones that do know, they're in charge of the deep state stuff and the military-industrial complex. And they even probably make deals with the technology from the Darrow and and those kind of people, because there's a lot of technology that's underground in subterranean cities,
Mm-hmm.
and in the Darrow they've taken a lot of it, and then of course the Atlans or the fallen angels, they took some of it with them, but they left a lot of it. There was just so much of it, and Richard Shaver, he told about when he was down there. He spent several years underground living with what he called the Tarot. He said there were two groups, Tarot and the Darrow, but I don't believe that. I think they were tricking him. I think they were playing him. There might have been different clans, and he was with one that claimed to be Tarots. But
Yeah.
Richard Shaver said that they had machines down there that was like learning machines. You could sit on the machine and it would give you information, like a book or whatever, and
Like
it would,
plugging into the Matrix.
yeah. Could you imagine if if that's really true? How valuable would something like that be? You want a bachelor's degree in this, and you just sit down at that machine for however long it takes,
Yeah,
and
sure.
then download a bachelor's, or a doctorate. How dangerous would that even be? You could make somebody
Oh, sure.
a genius. And then he talked about using this one machine that you could look into, and you could point it, and you could view things through the rock, And he'd be he claimed to be with the Tarot, and they were always worried about the Darrow coming in and raiding them, and killing people and stuff like that. So they would be scanning and watching, and he would be watching groups of people far off and stuff, and he would talk about these horrible, like deformed beings and creatures that were just so awful that he couldn't even really describe them, and so like when you're telling some of your stories, like you witnessed this little Buddha thing that loved this or that was kind of stuff that he talked about, that he was seeing that was underground there, and you could also view things on the surface too, right through the rock, and then other technologies he talked about. It was quite incredible. I don't know if that was all true or not, but all I know is when I seen that Darrow thing, he did have a piece of technology, and it looked high tech to me. What it was supposed to do, I don't know, because they did get interrupted, So,
Yeah.
what it was gonna do, I'm not sure. I didn't feel any when he stuck it to the side of my head. I didn't feel anything like. But whenever he did that is when I was able to see that door open up, and that shadow being walk into that doorway. Maybe it was opening my eye to be able to see that or something. I don't know. But they seem to do something to your temple, because even that Steve Brody story, that was even separate from Shaver. He said that they had that band around that woman's head, and they had these little plate lights things that were over her temples. And then they would point that wand at her and make her go out of consciousness, And so somehow or another, they well, you think about Dr. Tellinger. He made that thing called the God Helmet. And those magnet things are over the temples. So, so he's even figured out something that you can do to those areas of the brain, the right and left hemisphere, I guess, and to bombard that particular area with the electromagnetic stuff that he does. Who knows what those other things are? I don't know. Richard Shaver talked about some types of weaponry they had. He said one of them looked kind of like a bed spring gun, and it would throw out certain waves. And if you know anything about that kind of waves and things like that, a spring shape like that would throw out particular types of waves. It would be a good idea for a form of something that would you could cast off waves off of that spring mechanism or looking shape. And some of the stuff he talked about, it just there was a lot of sense when you think about it scientifically, that it would make sense. And he was talking about
Yeah.
this stuff in the
Sure.
50s, 40s and 50s. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress here talking about all this stuff again. But is there anything else you want to tell?
Oh, not. There's been some howling. We've had some howls out there. Some pretty powerful ones. We had one. We got a burn pit back behind my house. If we go out there and we have this little fire going, hang out, and just sit around, and at night, because we got 6 kids in the house, so we go out at night when they're all asleep, and we just hang out and get away from them,
Yeah.
And since this winter, there's been 3. Excuse me, hold on. Okay, since this past winter, there's been 3 or 4 different instances that we've heard howls. One time was with the one time with dogs were barking, and this thing, they were barking all over. I mean, you can hear, Oklahoma's pretty flat. It's not big trees around here. You can hear for a long ways. And dogs were barking, and then a howl come up, big howl. It was long, it was big, and they just shut up. I mean, right when it howled, they shut up. And I didn't hear another thing out of those dogs after that. And then another time, we heard coyotes were all over, just probably in the 2-3 mile area. Every pack of coyotes that was out here were sounding off. I mean, they were just going off. And then another big booming howl. It was big. I mean, it was clearly much more bigger and more powerful than the coyotes, and they shut up too. As soon as they heard that, they just shut up, and not another peep out of them for the rest of the night either. So there's the telltale signs, of course, the tree breaks, the knocks, the howls. There's activity out here, that's for sure. Stuff that it fits real good with being a Sasquatch or Dogman, or hopefully that's all there is running around out here.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma's got lots of reports, so it's
oh sure, yeah. Most of it's up east in the eastern area and northeastern by the Arkansas border. Most of it's up in that area. Tulsa gets a lot of stuff too, and
wherever the rivers
around
and
here,
creeks and stuff like that are,
yeah.
Even if they have just a little, a slight strip of woods along those creeks, and those Bigfoot will travel those. They'll go from place to place, and I mean, they're good at it. They're sneaky and they're good at hiding. Most people would never know it. You could have a Bigfoot go through a town, and if it was careful, people wouldn't see it. They're that good at hiding, and almost in plain sight. They can stand still right in front of you almost, and you're looking, not seeing nothing. Think it's a bush. Mm-hmm. They can squat down and look like a bush.
Yeah, deer are pretty good at holding real still, and you can't see them.
Oh yeah, dude, I've been deer hunting before.
If you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Then,
dude, I've been deer hunting before and sitting there thinking, man, I'm never going to see a deer. Sitting there and them gawking straight ahead, and all of a sudden I realized there's a deer standing right there. It's like, dang, I didn't even see that. And then I had to wait for it. I give a whistle or something so it to move its head and see if it has a rack on it or not. Even when you do spot a deer, if it's not doe season, you got to be careful because make sure it moves its head, see if it has a rack, but the deer can hide. So it's not unusual that something like a Bigfoot couldn't hide in almost plain sight. I mean, there's so many times I've had people tell me that they were standing almost right next to one and they didn't see it.
Yeah.
Even though that guy came on, and there was a little baby one that was in the tree. The dog was barking up the tree and stuff, and he was looking at it up there in the tree, and it's right there in front of him, and it was like he said it was moss covered or looked like the fur was mossy, so it blended really well. He said if it wasn't for his little butt, for some reason I guess his little butt was kind of bare, He said he wouldn't have saw it. He said it
He
blended
hightailed it up
that
the tree.
well. Yeah, and then the mama stepped up though,
Time to go.
got scary then. It was like, ouch.
Yeah. Yeah, they're, I imagine they're just like any other animal as well. As, you get in the wrong spot, you get in between their baby, or you get too close to a family unit or something. I imagine they'll come after you for stuff like that.
Oh,
too.
yeah. I mean, how many times have you heard of encounters where they think it was an aggressive encounter, but it was because, they when they were trying to get out of there, they ended up seeing a little one looking around the tree,
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd almost rather see an adult than a little baby.
Yeah.
The baby's there, the very protective mom is going to, hopefully it won't follow you.
Yeah, and that typically is when the people are out in their area and they just happen across where they're at. They're sleeping.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it happens near pines. They tend to bed down in areas where there's pines. I don't know if that's just for cover or just a particular side of the mountain that they like to sleep on for weather reasons or what have you, wind and what have you.
Yeah.
Typically grow pine and moss and things like that better.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're ever out looking and want to find where they sleep, look for pines.
We don't have any pine trees. We got evergreens, plenty of evergreen trees around here.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Pine or evergreen.
Okay.
That kind of tree. Yeah.
Well, there's definitely something going on out here. It's not constant. It's not, I'm not dealing with something harassing me or anything, but they're at least passing through and leaving their mark as they go,
Yeah.
And there's, like I said, there's plenty of deer out here any given night. I mean, or day.
The fact that there's deer there, you know that they're not sleeping in your area.
Right. Yeah.
They're
not
sleeping,
hanging out there. The deer would not be there.
Yeah, the deer would be gone. So they're coming up there and snagging dinner. That's why you're going to hear them once in a while when they think, okay, we're going to go up over there and snag something. Because they're not going to deplete those herds either. They're gonna manage them. They're not dumb. They have to have food continually, so they're not going to just go stomp out a resource. They'll go and they'll take some from it, and they'll go other places and take some, and I just really believe they manage the herd. They know they're in the woods. That's where they live. They know what population of deer are out there, and rabbits, and all that stuff. So. They're thinking, well, we'll take this much out of this area, this much out of that area, and they pick enough areas to where it's going to be a sustainable resource. If you get like 10 areas that you go eat from, and you rotating that around, and take a deer over here, and then maybe next week take deer over there, and rabbits over here this week, rabbits over there, and then over time you. Or letting that population keep replenishing, then you're going to have food for your family, because that alpha male, he's going to be responsible for making sure his family's got food, and if he doesn't, he won't be the alpha male very long, There's, a lot of times you'll see some of those old alpha males that are gray, when you hear about those encounters, it's usually a Bigfoot that's by itself. And he gets pushed out. Another alpha male takes over, and it's you can't stay the head honcho all the time. But if you do a bad job, you ain't gonna be head honcho very long anyway. It's the same as the gorilla. You'll watch the documentaries on gorillas. Same thing, man. They live a lot similar to the way gorillas live, even with the bluff charges and stuff like that. They have a lot of really similar, ways that they behave, and it makes you wonder if that they aren't angelic that corrupted, the primate flesh,
Yeah, that's pretty much what what I'm thinking on, at least on Sasquatch, is did you ever catch Dr. Melba Ketchum's DNA research on Sasquatch?
Yeah, and it had human mitochondrial, so that means there's female human. So there's somewhere down the line there's a human DNA there, and if that's the case, then the angelic being might have been a Chewbacca-looking angelic being. Because I've heard of encounters where people's had encounters like UFO encounters, and there was a Chewbacca-looking creature on the UFO, and so that would mean that there are angelic beings that look like that, and it wouldn't be surprising because there's all kinds of there's trillions or billions and billions upon billions of angelic beings, and a third of them fell. And and if you got that many billions, and there's all different types, then it's hard saying what every angel looks like. You know, some of them that look like bullheads and or lion head with a humanoid body. You know, look like the ones that are before the throne, and then and there were beasts that were before the throne. That's not even counting the seraphim and the fiery seraphim ones, and then the cherubim, and then you have the other angels, the different orders of angels, and it's incredible, we don't know half of it,
Yeah, what's interesting that the Bible says they're beasts before the throne. And then that horseman you were talking about has control over beasts on the earth. So we're not talking about bears or you know lions. Which
right,
I mean that might be part of it.
Yeah, it could be part of it. But that was one of the reasons I suggested that it could be the Bigfoot and Dogman, because beasts that are described in the Bible weren't just animals. They were humanoid type creatures that had animal characteristics but humanoid form.
Yeah. Well, gosh, was David one of his 7 mighty men? I looked that in. I don't know. It said he killed a lion-like man
Moab,
at one point.
Right.
Yeah, it said it was lion-like. He killed it with I think it's sword or something. And so that's, I mean, there you go.
That was a metaphor. I mean, yeah. But we hear of encounters of that kind of thing. It's kind of rare to hear of cat people, but you hear of it. I mean, I've heard of them before. People that claim that's what they encountered. A humanoid type creature, but it had feline or a cat-like appearance to it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Really.
I mean, if you got Dogman, maybe they. I wonder if the Dogman hates those.
Yeah, I'll be chasing them up trees.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, it's a crazy sounding topic. World. It really is. It sounds so absurd, but we know that there's some truth to some of it. That's for sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can't discount. I mean, I sit here and say I didn't see what I saw back in '99 all day long, and knowing full well I saw something that didn't make any sense with any other living creature that I know of in this area or beyond.
Right.
So I mean, I'm like thinking of, trying to look into Africa and see what kind of animals are there.
When you've encountered stuff yourself, even with the encounters I've had. I've had physical encounters with these things, the Bigfoot, grabbing a hold of me. I've had the red angelic creature, with the horns, grabbed a hold of me. The Darrow thing grabbed a hold of me. Seems like they always like to grab me for some reason,
Yeah, you got a lot of hands-on creatures with you.
No doubt, man. That's crazy, isn't it? It's like, man, dude, back off, But, I can't deny that stuff. I mean, I know it's real for a fact that there's things out there that people do not comprehend, that many people would say isn't true. But I know for a fact it is 100% true. I know there are such things as Darrow. I know there's Bigfoot. I know there's red angelic horned creatures, that can walk right through a wall but grab a hold of you. and that stuff's real. And it's more real than our realm. We think that our little 3D realm here is real. But when you think about it in the long run, the spirit realm, the Elohim realm that we were speaking of earlier, that's the realm that's going to last forever. So that realm is more real than this one. And people that had near-death experiences, they'll say it seems more real over there. On that side, it was more real, The colors were more vibrant. Even the plant life had life in it. You could see it, and it was just more real to them. So this realm, there'll be a new heaven and new earth, I know, but it's going to be changed, and we're going to be in glorified bodies, and so it's going to be somewhat different, and it's going to be real because it's going to be forever.
Yeah. We're all going to look great, I can tell you that.
Yeah. I think we'll all be around like 32, like the age of Jesus was when he was crucified.
Oh, yeah.
I think
that's a good thought.
That's a perfect age right there in a way. But I'm talking about a healthy, 32.
Sure.
Someone who's healthy. Yeah, that'll be wonderful, dude. No more swollen feet.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I always tell people when I make comments, and on YouTube channels or whatever, and I know they're Christians, I say, hey, if I don't meet you on this side, I'll meet you on the other.
All right. And we'll have forever.
I'll come across you at some point.
Yeah, and we'll have forever to do, whatever it is that we end up doing, And we'll be doing stuff too, the Lord talks about making us ruler over, cities and stuff, you'll have things to do, and you'll have forever to do it. If you were a carpenter or something on the other side, imagine how awesome you would be at it. You would have forever to perfect it. You know what I'm saying? I want to drive one of those fiery chariots when I get there. It's like, all right, let me check out that fiery chariot that goes like from the east to the west and like lightning,
As of right now, one thing I definitely want to have is a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Probably won't get one because it's a weapon, but interesting thought. I'd like to have a lightsaber.
There'll be cool stuff like that, guarantee you.
Yeah. There'll be things that we can't even imagine blow our minds, and it's going to be something new every day. For eternity.
Doesn't Jesus even say that your eyes haven't seen, or even you can't even comprehend the things that the Father has prepared for you?
Yeah,
it's going to be so awesome that it's going to just be mind blowing. It's going to be like, wow, I can't even comprehend that it was going to be this awesome. It's what he said.
Yeah.
He made it sound so fantastic that it's hard to even describe what he said. He said your mind can't even comprehend the things that he has prepared for you.
He didn't even try to explain it. He's like, it's pointless to try to get this to you right now. You're just going to have to wait and see.
You ain't going to understand how awesome it's going to be,
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yep. I oftentimes think that, I think that's kind of the problem with the church right now, at least, perhaps, we're living in a time where the supernatural is undeniable. People are getting good footage of UFOs. We got cryptid, Sasquatch, people seeing. There's the demonic, not demonic, but exorcisms.
Yeah.
I've been saying exorcisms are on the rise right now. They've been going up, and they've been having mass groups of kids getting possessed, and they're bringing exorcists to get demons out of them, which that is a whole process and Catholic ideology all within itself. And what they need to do is just walk in there, kick the door down, walk in there, start screaming Jesus at them, and instead of all that holy water and which I believe in anointing, I do believe in that, but putting my faith in holy water is going to injure a demon and make it leave somebody's body. That's not going to happen. It's going to take speaking the word.
Yeah,
to get.
And plus, if you are a Christian man or a woman, and you know the Lord, and you have faith and what have you, you and your seed are protected. So if your kid's possessed, you better check yourself.
Yeah. What I was saying is, yeah. And that's why I was saying the shortcoming of the church right now is nobody's paying attention to the supernatural. At least, I mean, I've gone to churches where they've talked about demon possession. They've talked about healing, supernatural things, yes. But there's not enough talk about what's actually happening right now. I mean, you mentioned the military-industrial complex. I mean, wasn't that Johnson? He tried to warn us of that, or at least Americans at that time. I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson who, his farewell address to America, he warned people, the Americans, watch out for these people because they're coming up in power and they're going to have all the money, all the power, all the companies, and they're not good people. And that military-industrial complex is pretty much the beast system that's going to rise up, right? That's what's coming up next. Daniel had his beast prophecy, and that beast prophecy is the rise of the beast system, and that military-industrial complex is one outlet for it. There's multiple outlets, I'm sure, worldwide, and I think those are some of the people who are involved in covering up these cryptids and all this stuff. It's just, I mean, the trail is there. If you look at who knows who before they became president, what they were doing before that, who owns what companies, who's making money off of different things. I mean, it's like you said, it's complex, but if you take the time and start writing it out, you'll figure out who the big people are and who are the ones that are trying to essentially bring about the end of the world.
Yeah, and there's people that are involved in that for sure, trying to pull, for some reason they're wanting to get rid of capitalism and get rid of God out of this country and promote social Marxism. All the social justice stuff going on. It's dividing, not in a good way either. Based off of a good idea. A lot of the social justice is a good idea, but our Constitution guarantees individual rights to justice. When you put social in front of justice, then you're starting to get mob mentality type of thing, to where even if they're
and that's
wrong,
what happened.
they can enforce things on. People are getting kicked off of Twitter and getting kicked out of Facebook and YouTube and like Alex Jones. Even if you don't agree with Alex Jones, he should never have been censored.
Right.
Because who's next?
He got censored.
If they don't agree with you, they don't agree with me, am I next? Who's next?
Yeah. Oh, sure. They're coming for everybody, Vic. He put up his deal. The guys here in Oklahoma, Cryptid Brothers, they put up their little deal saying, hey, look, they're starting to censor. They might come for us. If they do...
That's why helping support this channel is important if you think that it does good, and it does. There's a lot of people that's come to the Lord listening to this channel. That they're interested in cryptids and supernatural and all that kind of stuff, and they end up coming out of one of my favorite stories is with that person that came out of vampirism. Man, they were in a satanic cult, dude, drinking blood and everything. And that's evil stuff. They came out of that from listening to the show, and I've had other reports like that. People coming out of being atheist and over time hearing faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word. So if you have someone who's talking about the word of God here and there, and you keep listening, it's going to build their faith, and faith comes by hearing. So you can't have hearing without you can't have faith without hearing. and you can't have hearing except if you have the Word. The Word develops your hearing, and then your hearing develops your faith. So that's how the process goes. You can't be a believer without hearing the Word, because you can't have hearing without it. And
That's
the
true.
people who get that, they come to being a believer, and they don't have the Word in them at all. They're the ones that fall away, like the parable of the seed, the seed and the sower kind of deal. There's no ground there; the ground's not tilled, so they spring up, and then they get washed away, or the birds of the fowl of the air come into the fowl of the air, the demon.
And we're the ones who are supposed to tend to that ground.
Yeah, we're supposed to till it, and it's the Word that's doing is the seed. So that ground's got to be tilled up to where the seed can take root, and basically that's the process. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word. Plain and simple. Ponder that. Think about that. All the Christian people out there listening, think about what I just said. It comes straight from the Word of God. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing comes by what? The Word. So it's the Word that's going to get people to thinking about hearing, and then once they start hearing, then that's going to develop their faith, and then that will set them free, and renew their mind, and all these things that we are battling against, like this cultural Marxist stuff that's marching through the institutions of this country. That can be dealt with from changing people's minds so they don't agree with that. And once you do that, then that stuff can't prosper in this country. We have to have the Word of God reinstituted in this country, and the way to do that is through things like what I do. Where it's not right in your face. It's like you get a little bit of it here and a little bit there, and then next thing you know, it's like, hey, I think there's something to this.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned Satanists. That's pretty much what we're dealing with at the top, or Satanists and Luciferians. And these people they're sacrificing and they're drinking blood, just like you said. And no point in naming names. I think if you look at what we were talking about earlier about who owns what companies and who's benefiting and who are buddies, who are the buddies to other people, I think you can figure out who the ones in top
most of the lost
are.
people, though, don't even know it. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't know nothing about God or the devil, and those are the ones that we're mainly going to be reaching. Sometimes you pull somebody out of one of those kind of deals. It's a little harder to do, but it can happen. It only happens.
Those people are gone.
Some of those type people listen to the show because they're interested in the topic, but then over time, that word breaks down the walls that they have built up against it. The Bible talks about the strongholds are only broken down by the Word. The Word breaks those strongholds down. So the Word is so important. Jesus is the living Word. The Word was in the beginning, and it was with God, was God. And the Word dwelt among us. He made that Word flesh. Think about those concepts. It's incredible. The Word is a living entity. And I always knew that from when I was a little kid. I'd read the Bible, and I always knew that there was something living about it. There was something... It wasn't just words on a page, the logos, the written, typed out word, but it's also the rhema, the rhema word, the spiritual aspect of the word is what's important, is because that's what really does the work, that rhema aspect of it.
Absolutely.
But anyway, man, I really appreciate you sharing, brother, and
yes,
and holler back anytime, man. You get some more stories or what have you,
there's always something happening around here. I'm bound to run across something sooner or later and get a good eyes on, and when I do, I'll get you. I'll call you up. I'll hit you up, and we'll chat about it.
Stay in touch, man, And everybody out there in YouTube land, I appreciate you listening. Thank you, and God bless you. And yeah, like we said, support the show, and you're helping do a good work if you do.
Amen.
And we'll get you some more good stories. I was going to try to get another one this evening, if it's not too late to call these people. But yeah, the one the Alaska encounter, it seemed real interesting. It was some cryptid when it was explained I've never heard of. It's one of those really unusual ones, Kind of fits with what we were talking about. There's all kinds of different creatures out there. Interesting stuff when you hear of something you never heard of before. But until next time, YouTube land, God bless you, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.